Happy Wednesday, everyone. Well, not if you're Whoopi Goldberg, aka Karen Johnson. Yeah, who knew Whoopi was a Karen? I thought that was only for white people, like Toyota Priuses and skiing. Roll it, Francis.
Good morning and welcome to The View. You all saw the news. Whoopi will be back here in 2 weeks. Okay?
So cute when one of their side gets punished. They sulk like they ran out of raw cookie dough in the green room.
It was completely unpredictable. Millions of people watched in shock as Whoopi Goldberg disintegrated live on television. It felt less like a typical conversation show throughout the day and more like the dramatic conclusion of a soap serial. What caused this whirlwind of emotions? It's none other than Greg Gutfeld, the astute commentator on Fox. He moved quickly and the results were shocking and instantaneous. Strong opinions, a hint of tension, and lighthearted humor characterized the show's opening moments, just like any other edition of The View. However, the moment Gutfeld entered the conversation, the mood changed. His comments were precise, surgical blows delivered with pinpoint accuracy, not lighthearted criticisms. Whoopi attempted to ignore them, but the blow had already struck. As the panel attempted to regain their usual rhythm, her normally fiery confidence faltered. Her voice became deeper, her responses delayed, and the tension in the room became almost palpable. The audience, locked in startled silence, understood that something significant was happening. Gutfeld refrained from yelling, he refrained from cursing. However, every argument he made was remarkably clear as it cut through the emotional clutter. When he referenced her past comments on sensitive historical topics, the temperature in the studio dropped, leaving an unmistakable chill in the air.
Ran down the hallway. The rapture is here. Rapture's here. And then also I learned that cicadas are coming. Cicadas.
Oh, I love
for the first time in like
No,
100 years.
No.
For the first time in many, many years.
No,
And so-
every 17 years this happens.
well, that's not what I read, but maybe, you know better. All those things together would maybe lead one to believe that, either climate change exists
That's what
or
the
something
point.
is
returning.
Earthquakes are not at the mercy of climate change. It's underground. It can't.
It happens, and the eclipse, they've known about the eclipse coming because eclipses happen, and they actually can say when these things are going to happen.
Whoopi's expression froze as though she had been slapped hard by reality. She sputtered, attempting to defend herself. No, that's not what I meant. But her words hardly registered. Every attempt seemed to drag her deeper into a downward spiral. One of the most seasoned hosts on television seemed encircled, outmatched, and clearly scared in that moment. Naturally, Gutfeld showed no compassion, delivering strike after blow, figuratively speaking, with a combination of exact facts, razor-sharp wit, and just the right amount of arrogance to shake the entire stage. Whoopi, who was typically an expert at managing the space, appeared truly scared at this point. She tried to change the topic of discussion, but the heat of the moment was uncontrollable and her voice faltered. Watching her barriers fall apart in real time, viewers at home were hooked to their screens. Reactions on social media ranged from horror to laughter. "She's falling apart," said one tweet. "This is worse than anything I've seen from her on the show before," said another. Even her fellow hostesses were clearly shocked. Several intervened, but Gutfeld had already taken command. "Whoopi, this isn't about you, Tees," he firmly stated. "The facts are what matter, and sometimes the facts are unsettling, like a dash of frigid water." That one line landed. Her normal aplomb dissolved like sand between fingers as each second went by.
The Holocaust isn't about race. No. It's not about race. It's about
a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah, that's heroically stupid. Even for the...
She even stopped in the middle of her speech, sighed deeply, and turned to face the camera. The audience was unsure whether to laugh or cringe. Gutfeld, meanwhile, reclined in his chair, cool, collected, and completely content. His goal was very clear: hold the line and reveal the hypocrisy. By the end of that segment, Whoopi looked drained, as if she had just weathered a verbal hurricane. However, the storm had not yet passed. Whispers echoed across the studio backstage as producers tried to keep the mayhem under control. However, the harm had already been done. The focus shifted to Whoopi's disintegration. Within minutes, videos of the event went viral. Hashtags such as hashtag #GutfeldDowns, The View, and hashtag Whoopi Meltdown started to gain popularity on several platforms. Rewinding the video in shock at how fast things got out of control, viewers were enthralled. There could not have been a more striking contrast. Whoopi flailed in annoyance and defensiveness while Gutfeld was calm. This was a public teardown as well as a heated argument. One viewer said, "I've never seen Whoopi this rattled." Her words fumbled, her characteristic fire faded, and her voice faltered. She was unable to take back control of the discussion despite the efforts of her fellow panelists. The stress was only increased by Gutfeld's calm sipping of his coffee as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. The studio fell silent, a silence far more potent than applause. Even seasoned viewers didn't seem to know how to interpret the scene. News sources took up the story within hours, and headlines like "Whoopi breaks down on air as Gutfeld calls out Goldberg" quickly went viral. Commentators from all walks of life offered their opinions. While some said it was just a high-profile instance of pressure, others speculated that this would signal The View's credibility collapse. "Whoopi isn't used to being challenged. She's accustomed to praise," observed one analyst. In the end, the episode came to represent a larger conflict, the widening gap between public opinion and celebrity talk programs.
Yesterday on The View, otherwise known as Hell's DMV, Whoopi Goldberg asked how much different are the values of the Trump administration from the Taliban.
We have a leader who has repeatedly demeaned women, right? Wants to defund organizations that benefit women, calling on the media to shut up, specifically wants to give preferential treatment based on...
Whoopi, who had before appeared to be impenetrable, had suddenly been revealed. Even ardent viewers acknowledged that it was challenging to watch. She appeared to be holding back tears. One spectator said, "It didn't feel like a debate. It was more akin to a silent loss." Gutfeld, meantime, made an appearance on Fox News and described the incident with a smile. "I didn't intend to upset anyone," he joked. "I simply illuminated a shadowy area." Online reactions were triggered by that line alone. He was hailed as a hero by some and described as harsh by others. However, the impact was undeniable. Whoopi's tone was strained and her grin was tight when she reappeared on the following edition of The View. The audience hadn't forgotten, even though the cast pretended nothing had happened, and the typical laughing felt hollow. Ratings increased due to curiosity rather than fondness. Viewers wanted to see if the unraveling might happen again. The co-hosts' anxious looks conveyed their concern, but they refrained from outright mentioning the catastrophe. There was a change in the dynamic. Whoopi's collapse wasn't the only disruption. It was the realization that the studio bubble had burst. The entire globe was silently observing. Unwavering truth, not yelling, had humbled a show that had once flourished on powerful voices. Whoopi persisted, determined to keep her cool and try to change the topic. However, her voice wavered, and each word appeared to be fighting to maintain a brittle image. The rest of the panel, who were usually animated and boisterous, remained silent since they knew that one mistake could lead to another public breakdown. In contrast, Gutfeld had already departed the studio, leaving a tense quiet in his wake. He didn't have to stay. The fallout said it all.
No, let me explain. They said that their ovens had gone down, all kinds of stuff, but folks went and got them anyway, which is why I'm not telling you who made them. But can't be because I'm a woman, but perhaps they did not like my politics.
The media went into overdrive in a matter of hours. Every news website ran the video over and over again, emphasizing Whoopi's expression of shock, her frozen silence, and her clumsy attempts to gather herself. This was a complete unraveling, not just a mistake. On live television, the composed, self-assured image she had built over the years fell apart. Instead of just confronting her, Gutfeld revealed a more profound reality. She wasn't accustomed to being questioned. Even her most devoted followers were shocked. The power of reality seemed to paralyze her for a while. She was utterly at a loss for words, one spectator said. Memes become viral on the internet. While some expressed sympathy for her struggle, others made fun of every pause and blink. Whoopi's missteps became a spectacle. A slow-motion repeat of her mispronunciations was included in a particularly popular post. It was a piece of vicious mockery that went viral. Even a BC's attempts to control the situation seemed to draw more attention. Critics did not back down. Then Whoopi exclaimed, "You let him say that on my show," in a startling backstage audio leak. As soon as the video became public, it became clear how unprepared and shaken she really was. With Whoopi at the heart of it all, what started out as a typical conversation turned into a full-fledged media frenzy.